Hi everyone, I'm Bridget and I'm going to be discussing capital punishment. So, capital punishment is also known as the death penalty. It is the planned taking of a human life by government in response to a crime being committed by that legally convicted person. The death penalty has not always been practiced in the United States, although it is estimated that in this country more than 15,700 people have been legally executed since 1700. From 1976 through October 2018, 1,483 felons were executed in the United States. As of 2020, capital punishment in the United States is officially sanctioned by 29 states, as well as by the federal government. Each state with legalized capital punishment has different laws regarding its methods, age limits, and crimes that qualify. Crimes that carry the death penalty vary greatly worldwide, from treason and murder to theft. Also, even in militaries around the world, court martials have sentenced capital punishments also for cowardice, desertion, insubordination, and mutiny. I believe capital punishment is morally wrong. I'll be discussing natural law theory and Kant's retributivism in regards to why I believe capital punishment is wrong. In natural law theory, everything has purpose and order. So, the laws of nature also describe how things ought to be. In chapter 4 of our textbook, it discusses the theory of natural law in the way that we are, by our very nature, social creatures who want and need the company of other people, and it is in our natural makeup that we care for others in that way. However, there is a group of people who do not care at all for others or do not have the means to even think in capable ways of caring. And in modern psychology, these are sociopaths and psychopaths. The textbook further says his personality is defective, just as eyes are defective if they cannot see, and it might be added this is true because we were created by God with a specific human nature as part of his overall plan for the world. So, in terms of capital punishment, even though the person committed a crime, they are the product of human nature, and so taking their life is not in line with natural law theory. For someone, if you have someone who is a psychopath or does not have the mental capacity to realize he is out of the norm, then it's not really justified in killing him, in killing a person for a crime that they're not even aware of is quote unquote out of the norm. So this is where it's hard to apply capital punishment to all people because it's not applicable to all people. In chapter 10 of the textbook, Kant's retributivism theory is discussed. So, in Kant's ideologies based around retributivism, he believes a person should be punished for their crimes simply because they committed crimes. And he also believes that the crime they committed should be in proportionate levels of their punishment. He does believe in capital punishment. So he goes to say that basically, however, when dealing with irrational beings, he believes it would make no sense to resent their behavior and punish them for it. So although Kant still believes in capital punishment, he brings up the fact that it can't be applicable to all people. Not all people are able to um, have capital punishment committed against them because they are not in a rational thinking and they are not a rational being. So in terms they are, it just doesn't make sense. Um, so although his theory is against or is for capital punishment, he brings this up, and to me, um, I think it's immoral because it cannot apply to all beings, and I believe that all beings should be held at similar standards, especially when it comes to capital punishment. It gets very tricky. I feel like it should be explicit. Capital punishment exists or it does not, and not for certain people and whatnot. So, in my research, I came across the case of Stanley Tukey Williams. His case highlights how capital punishment also brings about moral complexities. And I feel like this case kind of shows how the death penalty can be um, very tricky to apply to all people, even over the course of their lifetime. So, Williams is an author and a Nobel Peace and Literature Prizes nominee who was put to death on December 13th, 2005, by lethal injection by the state of California. So this brought capital punishment back into public debate heavily. Williams was convicted of 4 murders in 1979 and sentenced to death. Williams professed innocence of these crimes. He was also co-founder of the Crips, which is a Los Angeles-based street gang responsible for hundreds of murders. About 5 years after incarceration, Williams underwent a religious conversion and, as a result, wrote many books and created programs to promote peace and to fight gangs and gang violence. He was nominated 5 times for the Nobel Peace Prize and 4 times for the Nobel Literature Prize. Williams admitted his life of crime and violence, which was followed by genuine redemption and a life of unusually good works. The circumstantial evidence against Williams left doubt that he committed the murders, despite last-minute claims by supporters. There also existed no doubt that Williams posed further threat to society and would contribute considerable good. So his case was kind of forced the public to really consider capital punishment because over his time, I believe, of being on death row, after being incarcerated, he was, you know, undoing what he realized he was caught up in. He helped so many people to, have these programs where he's like admitting like there's gang violence obviously is not good. So without, say he was on death penalty and had his death taken or had his life taken before he had the chance to write these books and create these programs against gang violence, like it would have never happened. And yeah. So I believe it does not seem morally right to potentially solve killing with more killing. Furthermore, in my research, I found this quote to be accurate of capital punishment in the U.S. specifically. The New York Times states in its article "High Cost of Death Row," to the many excellent reasons to abolish the death penalty. It's immoral, it does not deter murder, and affects minorities disproportionately. We can add one more. It's an economic drain on governments with already badly depleted budgets. So, in terms, it's just capital punishment is meant to obviously solve no further violence, but it doesn't really deter murder, and it does affect minorities disproportionately, which I feel like is important to discuss about. Um, just because, again, I feel like discussing capital punishment, um, it should apply to everyone if we are all on the same level. And unfortunately, as beings, we are on the same. I believe we're on the same level, but you can't you can't apply the capital punishment to someone who is a sociopath. So in terms of that, like, we must all it must be applied to all of us or not at all. And I believe that there are, for the reasons I've said, many substantiated evidence as to why we are not all able to be held to capital punishment.